Some video games build worlds, intricate, complex, wondrous worlds that you can enjoy exploring again and again and again in each game they show up in. And other games take sadistic pleasure in ruining those worlds and destroying all that work put there by the previous people that made that world possible. I don't know why they do it. Maybe it's because they're morons. Maybe it's because they have no idea what they're doing. Maybe it's because their publisher is a total dick. Maybe it's all of those put together. So behold, the top 7 video games that ruined the worlds, that crushed series, obliterated hopes, dashed dreams, and in general were made by people that didn't give two about what came before. And for some reason, these are usually the last games to ever be released from that series. Coincidence? I think not. That being said, let's get it started with number 7, Duke Nukem Forever. Now, this is a ruiner of worlds in the most literal sense possible, because the thing that really defined Duke Nukem 3D were the levels. Yes, the guns were great, the humor was what it was unique. It was the thing you associated most with Duke Nukem, but at the core of it, at its foundation, it was a great first-person shooter with amazing levels, amazing worlds, which Duke Nukem Forever utterly ruined because this game had horrible levels, crappy levels, amazingly boring, generic, straight lines with no substance whatsoever levels. It has a level design from a modern military shooter, meaning it may as well have a long straight line and a follow me marker in the horizon, because that's all this game was. You didn't have those sprawling levels, complex, with all sorts of secrets, with all sorts of goodies to find, with all sorts of interesting things in them. You just had straight lines. Well, to be fair, there were some corners in a few places, but you'd be hard-pressed to find an intersection of several lines in it, let alone an actual branching path or an actual complex level. Had you found one of those, well, in spite of all its other flaws, this game wouldn't have been that horrible. But it is. It is quite horrible. In spite of what Randy Pitchford, the boss of Gearbox, keeps saying. Then again, he also said that Aliens Colonial Marines wasn't bad, so that's not a person you should trust, really. Number 6, Doom 3. When you think about Doom, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Is it System Shock? No, it's not System Shock. Is it Alan Wake? Is it Alone in the Dark? Is it a survival horror game? No, it's a first-person shooter, usually set in colorful environments, with lots of demons that shoot all sorts of stuff at you that don't spawn out of the darkness, out of the monster closets, where you don't have to hold a flashlight in your hand because duct tape hadn't been invented in the future. You'd think about something like Doom, or Doom 2, or Brutal Doom, or even the newer Doom that's about to be released, which, although can only show about 2 colors on the screen at the same time, still has more nuance to it than Doom 3. This game basically ruined Doom because it tried to be serious. It tried to be a game about shooting demons on Mars that's all dark and gritty and oh man, it's gonna be serious and look, we got flashlights and this. In a game about shooting demons. Now, people blame the movie adaptation for dropping the demon aspect and making it a virus, but honestly, this Doom sort of started looking like it was hesitant to embrace its origins. Its wacky origins where you killed stuff with a chainsaw and had fun with it, and you could actually see where you're going, where you'd shoot John Romero in the head sometimes, or just his head. When they made Doom 3, they seem to have forgotten that. They seem to have forgotten that what they created initially, well, what the few people that were still at id Software created initially, was a violent, colorful game that, although was satanic in its way, wasn't all doom and gloom and emo. It was not this, which is why the next one will be what the other one was. Number 5, Prototype 2. Now, to really get a sense of how a world is destroyed in a video game, you usually have to wait about 3, 4, 5 games, but the people that made Prototype 2 were, no, the people at Activision that convinced the people at Radical Entertainment to make Prototype 2 managed to ruin a game world and all its characters in just one game. Now, Prototype itself wasn't some grand masterpiece of world design or characters, but it did have some neat ideas in it. The main one, and this is a spoiler for the entire game, I mean it's a spoiler for the entire game, was that you weren't playing a human being that got superpowers. You're playing the blacklight virus that got it into its head, well, firstly it got a head, and then hallucinated the fact that it was that Mercer guy. Well, in fact it wasn't, it was the virus, thinking it was human. But it was still the virus. Still, a somewhat benevolently evilish virus because at the end, it saved in New York. When the military wanted to drop a bomb on the place, it saved it. Like Batman did at the end of Batman What's-His-Name movie. And it set up a really neat idea for a sequel. For you see, Alec Mercer, well, the blacklight virus, was artificially engineered. It was an attempt to replicate an earlier virus that resulted in the creation of Pariah, Elizabeth Green's son, who was reported to have powers similar in some ways to those that Alex Mercer has. And it was mentioned during the game that ever the two should meet, they would probably cause a lot of havoc trying to kill each other. And no, Pariah didn't show up in Prototype. Cross wasn't Pariah. You just didn't understand the story. But again, this was a neat setup. You'd have Zeus going up against Pariah. You'd have basically two gods going head to head. But what did they do instead? They just made Prototype 1 again. Like really just Prototype 1 again, but worse. How worse? Well, they took out Alex Mercer as any sort of character. They made him a villain for absolutely no reason. They made him a villain that for some inexplicable reason infected a guy named James Heller to help him do something. I have no idea what or why because, again, the Blacklight virus saved New York from getting nuked, while itself was capable of surviving that nuke. Why would it need someone's help to infect the world? It wouldn't. It really wouldn't. So instead of getting a possibly interesting story where the Blacklight virus would fight its original version, its perfected version, its naturally occurring version, we got crap. We got actual crap. A mountain of absolute crap. And it only took one game to ruin everything. I'm actually impressed with that because, again, most people wait until the third game to actually just demolish all. But with Prototype, they did it in just one game. Number 4, Mass Effect 3. Now, normally I just complain about the ending and how it made the Reapers absolutely boring and generic and completely worthless as villains, but I recently started reading the works of Seamus Young, who basically did the step-by-step deconstruction of what exactly is wrong with Mass Effect 3, and he nailed something very important. Mass Effect 3 takes a giant dump on all the world-building elements of the series, not with just the ending, but with everything. Like, take for example, the Asari having their own monolith from the Proteans, which they decoded and used to advance their technology. I mean, the fact that they also lived for hundreds of years seemed to not have any sort of relevance to their advancement because Bioware. But no, it was that single solitary monolith, beacon, which they conspired to make the central point of a religion, but it was secret. And so why weren't they aware of the Reapers? If they decoded that monolith, which was left there by the Proteans, specifically to tell people, to warn them about the Reapers, why didn't the Asari know about them? Like at all. More to the point, the Proteans and the Asari sort of overlapped back when the Asari weren't that advanced. So you'd think that maybe they would have said, hey, by the way, there's these giant squids at the edge of space, they're gonna kill you. But there's nothing about that anywhere. It's almost as if whoever wrote that part of the game didn't give a flying spaghetti monster about the story, about the world, about the universe, about the setting, about anything. And considering the final explanation of the Reapers that they were there to cleanse the world of intelligent beings that made AIs because they would always make AIs that would kill them and all biological life in the galaxy, that made no sense because why not just come in and kill the AIs? Because if you do kill all the organics, the Geth will still be there worshipping you as gods that kill organics and just do that some more. Also, the reason why most races have developed AIs and advanced technologies is because they follow the relays. All those Mass Effect relays that lead them to the Citadel and on a predefined evolutionary path for technology set by the Reapers. So they're gonna discover AI because you left them the technology to discover the AIs. The explanation makes absolutely no sense when you connect it with what Sovereign said, that he is the vanguard of your destruction, not that I am here to collect you into the Borg Collective because you made AIs. And it's stupid to the point where they actually made a DLC. Yes, they made a DLC where the creators of the Reapers show up and say, no, we're proud of the Reapers. They're doing exactly as what we wanted them to do. Yes, indeed. No, Bioware does not have horrible writers because all the good ones left, because they were tired of working with Electronic Arts. Everything is perfect. Now, sure, the game did have some wonderful scenes like the one with Mordin Solus. It wasn't as pointless and completely crap gameplay-wise as Mass Effect 2, but when it came to world building, it was Galactus. It just devoured everything and pooped it out. And that's what you played. Poop. Very well marketed poop in terms of world design and building and storytelling. Number 3, Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Yeah, I've railed about this even in the last show, how Might and Magic stopped being Might and Magic at some point because some people got it into their heads that Might and Magic was only supposed to be a fantasy series with no sci-fi elements. Yes, that does still stand. That more or less ruined what the game world, what the game universe was about. But the game that really killed it completely, that destroyed this franchise, destroyed this world, destroyed it to its core, was Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Why? Because that's when it stopped being Might and Magic altogether. Well, yeah, they also did some DS games that were puzzle JRPGs, and I hope whoever thought about slapping the Might and Magic name to that one is burning in hell right now. But Might and Magic 5 did something worse. For you see, even though I didn't like the graphics of Heroes 3, it still looked like a Might and Magic game. Heroes of Might and Magic 5 looked like Warcraft. Like Warcraft 3, to be precise, like World of Warcraft. It had no artistic integrity. It was just a rip-off, stylistically speaking. And it was crap. It just killed it. There was no magic left. There was no originality left. There was no spirit of Might and Magic left. It was just crap. Recycled crap from World of Warcraft. I even tweeted them about it, and they oddly seemed to have a comparison prepared about how the goblins from Might and Magic Heroes 5, because there's a hipster version of it and they reverse the names, don't look exactly like the goblins from World of Warcraft, because theirs are brown, but they're the same goddamn thing. Also, this game did continue on the long-standing tradition to just not make the universe what it once used to be. And again, not talking just about the sci-fi stuff, they sort of went into the direction of, let's set this into some Eastern European style stuff, setting-ish thing, where people use words like duchy, and they sound like they're from the Holy Roman and Austro-Hungarian Empire, which is something that the Hero series never did do. They were fantasy places, fabulous places, strange places, which were now ruined. Number 2, Ultima 9. Now this is a series that took its time to die. Well, yeah, you could say that the Might and Magic series did also, because Heroes 5 was about the 13th game of the series, I think, were you to count all the other ones, but the franchise, I mean. Come to think of it, Ultima 9 was also about the 13th one, because there were the Ultima Underworlds, there were the Ultima Adventures. So yeah, this was the 13th game of the franchise, approximately. And this was a game that just crapped on everything that came before it. No continuity, no rhyme, no reason, no respect for its characters, no respect for its central plotline, no respect for even its internal logic. It was just constantly regurgitated crap. And yet you'll still find some people that will defend this. Not sure why, maybe they really love the Ultima series and are past the point of actually being able to see the bad parts. They're in the Stockholm Syndrome portion, or maybe this was the first one they played and think it's the greatest, because otherwise, not even when it was playable did this game do anything right. And oh sure, it was in development hell for eons, it changed engines, it was sidetracked because of Ultima Online. Okay, so it's a 14th one because there was Ultima Online also, and it went through several iterations. A script got cancelled, another one was made, it got cancelled too, and this one came up, and Electronic Arts was involved, so you know it couldn't have ended well. But that still doesn't change the fact that this killed Ultima. It killed Ultima more than that Lords of Ultima come and play my lord thing, which was sort of like Ebony even in the marketing, or those expansions that Ultima Online kept receiving, which added elves. Ultima 9 killed Ultima dead forever. And the number one game that ruined the world of its franchise is World of Warcraft. It's even got world in the title. You may be thinking, yeah, with the recent expansions, it sort of did kind of ruin the whole Warcraft thing. I mean, it was so much better back before Mists of Pandaria or Cataclysm. This used to be a great franchise, a great game. No, I'm just gonna say it flat out. World of Warcraft, since its inception, ruined Warcraft. Because Warcraft was an RTS series, it had a plot, it had ideas, it had its thing, and it did it well. World of Warcraft had to explain why things kept happening, and it did it horribly. It did it horribly at every pace, every place, every space. It did its own version of world building where nothing made sense and you could just justify everything by cramming it in there. It didn't do world building as much as it did slamming its head onto a keyboard until things came out. It didn't matter if they were stupid, it didn't matter if they made no sense, it didn't matter if they contradicted something that happened before, it didn't matter. As long as people had content to grind and more dialogue about, my honor for honor, you have no honor, this is honor, you are without honor, I must regain honor, you have redeemed honor, and so on, that's all that mattered. It was never good. And as time went on and quality declined even more, people actually started to notice it and started to leave. Well, some of them left. There's still more players paying for it monthly than there are, well, people paying for all other MMOs combined. But this isn't a benchmark of sales. This is a benchmark of world building quality in World of Warcraft. Well, maybe they intended to do world building with World of Warcraft. Maybe they tried. But in the end, that doesn't really matter because they failed. They just made something that's in dire need of a massive reboot, which it will probably get like Star Wars did. Though to be fair, the reason Star Wars rebooted was because they would have had to pay royalties to people that created the characters from the expanded universe where did use them in the movies, and because people already had the toys with those characters, so they just made new ones with new toys that people didn't have and would be obliged to buy because they're suckers, I mean fans. And so ends this show about the top 7 video games that ruined the worlds of their franchises. I'd like to give a few special mentions to Metroid Other M, Resident Evil, no Resident Evil actually had good world building ever, so they just ruined something that was already bad. Also, any Sonic game past I think the one with Knuckles, or maybe the first 3D one, I'd say Gothic 3 Forsaken Gods totally fragged off the entire series, though it sort of started with Gothic 3, and also probably either League of Legends, Dota 2, or Counter-Strike for, well, ruining this world, or my perception of this world. If you play them and run into the right teammates, you'll understand.
If you enjoyed this show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends, or if you thought it was horrible, then share it with your enemies and make them suffer. We shall be your weapon of vengeance. But if you liked what you saw, you could, I don't know, maybe donate, because basically YouTube is horrible at revenue, by using the link in the description, or just buy my book. It's a fantasy book about, well, a lot of stuff. I guarantee it won't suck, and if it does suck, you can find me here and complain about it.